Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today we're doing a deep dive into the profound psychological themes of trauma, memory, and healing, found in one of the most powerful novels ever written, Toni Morrison's Beloved. Now, this isn't just your standard historical story. It's really a deep exploration into the human mind, the invisible scars we all carry, and how we actually process unspeakable pain. So, let me ask you this. Can we ever truly outrun our past? I mean, think about it. It's a completely natural human instinct to try and bury painful memories, right? We all do it in our everyday lives to some degree. We push away the stuff that hurts us, kind of just hoping that if we ignore it long enough, it'll magically fade away. But what happens when the trauma is so extreme and so deeply ingrained that the past literally refuses to stay buried? Toni Morrison actually captures this idea so perfectly. There's this incredible quote: "Some things you forget, other things you never do. It's when you bump into a memory that belongs to somebody else." And that isn't just some poetic thought. It's a living, breathing force in the story. Morrison introduces this brilliant concept she calls rememory to show us how severe trauma actually disrupts time itself. The past isn't just something behind you, it's a physical space you can literally walk right back into. Section 1. The unshakable past, when history is a living wound. You see, trauma physically and mentally strips away a person's core sense of self. During enslavement, people were entirely stripped of their original names, forced to answer to a brutal system. Their physical bodies actually became living archives of suffering. Take Sethe, for example. Her back is covered in this horrific web of whip scars that she disassociatively describes as a choke cherry tree. But honestly, the most enduring, invisible scar is the mental enslavement. Even after physical emancipation happens, there's this massive, overwhelming struggle to claim ownership of what the book calls a freed self. Your body might be free, sure, but freeing your mind and figuring out who you actually are outside of your trauma, that is an entirely different battle. Section 2. The ghost in the room, facing unresolved guilt. Okay, so to really understand how we hide from pain, we absolutely have to look at the character of Beloved. Now, she isn't just some spooky ghost in a typical haunted house story, not at all. She is the literal, physical manifestation of repressed trauma, historical guilt, and the collective suffering of enslaved people demanding recognition. She is quite literally the past coming back to demand a seat at the dinner table. She forces Sethe, and us as the reader, to grapple with the past, proving that avoidance is just never a permanent solution to deep emotional pain. Which brings us to this fascinating psychological crossroads. Memory is kind of like a double-edged sword. It can be this deep, vital connection, or it can be a total prison. On one hand, you absolutely must remember history to honor those who suffered, right? Forgetting means erasing their truth and erasing your own roots. But on the flip side, if you let memory entirely consume you, it becomes a prison. You become so trapped in your own guilt that you are completely unable to live in the present moment or even look toward the future. Section 3. The impossible choice, the paradox of maternal love. To even begin to wrap our heads around Sethe's impossible choice to take her own child's life, we really have to view it through the lens of a defiant survival mechanism in response to extreme dehumanization. Under the impossibly cruel system of slavery, a mother had zero legal or physical rights to actually protect her child. When a system completely strips away your humanity like that, survival sometimes takes on a horrifying, twisted logic. In her deeply traumatized mind, death literally became the only path to true safety. It was an act of ultimate violence, twisted into the ultimate act of maternal protection. The text she collected every bit of life she had made and carried, pushed, dragged them through the veil, out, away, over there where no one could hurt them. You know, among enslaved people at the time, a very common survival tactic was simply don't love nothing, because anything you loved could be sold, broken, or destroyed in an instant. But Sethe dared to break that rule. She loved her children fiercely, and the cost of making that impossible choice was an unshakable, lifelong burden of guilt that absolutely consumed her. Section 4. The prison of coping, how we process pain. It's really interesting because the way these characters handle their immense psychological weight closely mirrors how people today avoid their own everyday trauma. Sethe's trauma manifests as this absolute obsession with the past. Psychologically, she's just trapped in a loop of guilt. Then we have Paul D. He copes by locking his emotions away in this metaphorical, rusty tobacco tin inside his chest. He seals it shut because he is terrified of vulnerability, which causes him to struggle deeply with intimacy. And finally, there's Seth's daughter Denver, who grows up in total isolation, literally hiding from the world. We get this super clear picture of the different ways we all tend to oscillate between acting out our trauma and just trying to suppress it entirely. And looking at Denver's experience, it introduces a concept that is incredibly relevant to modern psychology: post-memory. This is the intergenerational transmission of trauma. Denver inherits this profound, paralyzing pain that she didn't even experience firsthand. She is entirely shaped by the ghost stories and the suppressed grief of her mother, showing us exactly how trauma echoes through family lines. It completely changes the way she interacts with the world, proving that, yeah, we can carry the weight of wounds that were inflicted long before we were even born. Section 5. The Path Forward. Healing Through Community. There is hope, and Denver's transformation gives us a practical roadmap for emotional resilience. First, she breaks her isolation and literally leaves the haunted house. Second, she actively seeks help from the outside community. And third, she reclaims her own identity completely beyond her mother's shadow. Denver shows us that liberation isn't passive. It doesn't just magically happen to you. It requires you to step outside, ask for help, and actively engage with the present moment. Red heart, red heart, red heart. I absolutely love this moment. This is the painful yet incredibly liberating moment when Paul D's rusty, sealed tobacco tin of emotions finally breaks open. Let's be real, it is terrifying to feel again after numbing yourself for so long. The rust flakes away and all that pain rushes back in. But embracing that vulnerability, that is what ultimately frees us to experience true, genuine love and connection once more. You can't selectively numb emotion, guys. If you numb the pain, you numb the joy too. So what does this all mean? Well, we ultimately arrive at the power of collective resolution. Social fragmentation leaves us incredibly vulnerable to despair. We literally cannot heal in a vacuum. Even today, when we experience severe pain, our first instinct is often to isolate ourselves. But true healing requires re-entering the world and finding strength way beyond our own isolated trauma. It's about reactivating those deep ancestral values of caring and sharing. While our pain might be super personal, our healing is fundamentally collective. We have to be willing to tear down the walls we build around ourselves. So I'll leave you with this. Will you choose to face your ghosts or let them haunt your future? Beloved teaches us that acknowledging painful truths, seeking out support, and confronting our unresolved emotions isn't just about making peace with history. It's the only true path to freedom today. The past might shape us, for sure, but it absolutely does not have to define our future. Thank you so much for exploring this with us on The Explainer, and keep seeking the truth.